Hello and welcome to a very exciting edition of the Immigrant Magazine Weekly. It's exciting to me because for the first time, I'm going to be interviewing a female director and artist who's been recognized from California, Lisbon, Rome, you name it. And she happens to be from Hungary. Guess what? Dora Endre is on the show today, and you don't want to miss what she has to say about what it's taken for her to come from Europe and succeed in the United States. I'm sure there are things that you want to learn, the exciting things about Hungary. I think of Hungary and I think of food. Why? Am I dumb? I don't think so, but I'm sure you wonder about that, the name Hungary. So without further ado, before I bring her to the show, let's do the honors. Please click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet to subscribe to our channel. And of course, like us so that YouTube will share our videos. Ring the notification bell for sure so that you will be notified when we bring you such amazing content. And of course, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at immigrant, at pamelaanchang, right? And of course, like us on Facebook at the Immigrant Magazine. So let's welcome Dora Endre to the show. So welcome to the show, Dora. I'm so happy to have you on Immigrant Magazine Weekly. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
That's wonderful. I don't think that I've had a Hungarian on any of my shows. I've had people from different places from Eastern Europe. Hungary is in Eastern Europe, right? Is it?
See? Yeah, Eastern Europe, yeah.
Oh yeah, see, I know my geography. So first of all, tell me a little bit though. I'm curious to know because you really have an interesting story, but I'm curious to know, like everybody else that I interview, why did you come to the United States?
Oh, well, good question. Originally, I just really wanted to study languages, and I was interested in film and theater. And if you're interested in film and theater, I think, New York is really a mecca for all that. So that's how it came about after graduating in Budapest, where I studied, where I got my BA. And then I just really wanted to keep on, pushing myself, learning more how to be really independent. Mm-hmm. And also, I followed my passion.
That's wonderful, following your passion. So what language do they speak in Hungary? Hungarian? Is that it?
Yeah, we have our own very difficult language. Yeah, apparently it's like the third most difficult language in the world.
No way. So that's a fun fact that nobody knows.
That's a fun fact that nobody knows. Yeah, so it's very difficult. Yeah, we speak Hungarian.
Uh-huh. So, but you also speak English, or where did you learn English? Because people ask me about from Cameroon.
I studied at an international college in Budapest, which was a really nice experience because it opens so many doors. We had students from Nigeria. One of my best friends is from Nigeria, is a great producer, and I met her while at college. And I have a great friend from Belgium. So it's just like, it was really international for 3 years. And I think that just really pushed me to want to learn more. And I just became really curious about the different cultures. But I also studied Italian in high school and some Spanish at college.
Wow. It's funny, I don't really get to talk to someone from Hungary. So did you study this in Hungary or here in the United States?
In all of it in Hungary.
No way. I should want to visit Hungary. Well, it makes me...
It's a great place, actually. I'm always promoting, good trips in Hungary, good food in Hungary, excellent historical baths if you want to just relax. It's really beautiful.
That's wonderful. So now let's talk about your work. I was reading, a lot of stuff about you, and you really do amazing work. But you describe yourself in some of your interviews as having an overly active imagination and a never-ending fascination for theater and film. Is that the passion you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think inherently I'm just really creative. I'm just really curious. And obviously theater is just a great place to be creative. And film the same. You can combine so many different art forms, and you can do so many things out of the box that it became a real passion.
Wonderful. So what's the entertainment industry like in Hungary?
In Hungary, it's a very close circle. It's a little circle of people that get work. And it's very much, it depends on the government if you get enough work to do or not in many cases. which is, I think, really different in the US. Like it's much more open to everyone. It's much more merit-based than in many countries in Eastern Europe, which I really love. Obviously, that everyone gets to have an opportunity to grow, to learn, to be on staff, to meet people. But also the good thing about Hungary and especially theater is that it's really funded by the government. So theaters are not really independent in that way, which is bad from one side. But then again, so-called stone theaters, they have a lot of money. They have their budget. So they can have people really working there all day long, which is beautiful when you're an artist and you know that for the next 5 years you have enough to do.
Interesting. I ask people that come from the UK why they come to the United States to pursue entertainment, and because I'm always surprised because the United Kingdom is known for Shakespeare and all the best, right? And we say they have the
Right.
best actors, and yet they come here. So you seem to have it going in Hungary. Why did you choose to come then do it here?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to being young, being a woman, and wanting to be a director, then it's really difficult here. There are very established, older, great artists, great directors, for example, in theater, who work constantly. And there's not much for younger people. I just actually listened to this podcast with some young Hungarian directors, women, men, theater makers. They're struggling. They can't put on like one show per year. It's really difficult to find those places that have enough money and also that can reach audiences. And I think that's what's different in the US in many cases.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, all over.
What do normally people say about the UK? Now I'm interested if we can just sidetrack it.
No, they tell me that the industry is small. Predominantly, that's what I've heard, that the market is here. The talent is there, but the market is small. So, I mean, United Kingdom, it spans different, even countries. Name all these territories that are under the United Kingdom, you think. But that the entertainment industry, for the business, that it is small. So they come to Hollywood. What's your thing? Is it Hollywood or Broadway? What's your niche?
I think more New York, only because it's super artistic and it's all colors, the palette, which I really love. And you can really get inspired around every corner. What I'm getting as an advice as a young up and coming director is that it's really good to get all that from New York. And then if there's an opportunity, go to LA, do it, but it's very business oriented. That's what everyone seems to think about.
Yeah, you're one of the first probably that is more New York than Hollywood that I've actually.
Really?
Yes, because most people don't realize that in the United States, you have New York, Broadway and all theater and all of that. And then you have Hollywood, just film. I'm guessing. I'm not an actress, so I don't know, but I'm just speaking based on my interviews with most entertainers that Hollywood is really film and New York is more, like theater, right? So
but also I think it's also, sorry to interrupt, I think it's also changing with all these, HBO and Hulu and everything, because they are shooting a lot of those limited shows and a lot of great TV in New York right now. And many people are saying that it's shifting, that New York is sort of becoming more and more film oriented as well. True. So that's great, actually, because you can try both things, learn, see. If you get a chance, go and do a big budget Hollywood movie. Yes.
So is your thing the film or the theater?
I think a bit of both. I really like to wear many hats, and I just think that it's great to learn from both, and then you can implement whatever you're learning from it. And at the end of the day, it's just they're telling a story with different tools, obviously, but it's still about that. So it very much depends on the opportunity I get. I'm very drawn to theater because of the atmosphere of the place.
Yes, and the creativity probably.
Yeah.
Yes. So are you more like acting, directing, or both?
I studied some acting. I studied method acting, but I think it was more for the sake of knowing how to communicate well with actors. That was important for me to really know about different techniques, because every actor has something different in their toolbox. And if I'm sitting there and I don't know anything, then I can't really help them. So that was incredibly useful. And as I know, many directors have the same background. They study acting here and there, even Tarantino did. So it's just, I think it's just a good thing to have in your backpack. But also I really loved acting in a way because it frees you. It helps you to, deal with emotions. It helps you how to actually go through the process, how to build characters. So that's all very useful when it comes to directing.
That's so important what you just said, because I don't care the field. My experience is before you hire someone, you should at least know a little bit sometimes what they're supposed to do, so you know what the expectation is, right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So in that regard, how, as an immigrant, how easy has it been, or how challenging has it been to, get immersed in the industry and be accepted and find work?
I think what I really like about New York is that it doesn't really depend on you being an not. Everyone's really, really interested, really curious about other people's culture. And I think it very much depends on your ideas, your personality, if you're prepared, you're not, if you're professional enough, you are not. So in that regard, it wasn't so difficult. I think when it comes to difficulty, it's difficult being away from home, or it's difficult not having the same support system, not having those people around sometimes when it's hard. Or it's difficult when it comes to paperwork, stuff like that. Those are the difficulties.
Yes.
It's not so much the work. I wouldn't say that it's, it's not so much the creative work.
Yes. So as a director, and I know I interviewed a female director from Hollywood, and she was British actually, but she spoke about a lot of how challenging it was to, to penetrate the industry from as a female director. It's very much driven by males. Do you experience that in theater in New York as well?
I think it's the same. I think it's also interesting. We just had this conversation with a friend a few days ago. How many times it's just small things, even like you go and you want to rehearse something and you show up at the studio, and then at the front desk as a young female director, you meet someone, and the receptionist will laugh into your face thinking that you're a model, or I don't know, you got lost or something. And then you say, oh, I'm looking for this place, I'm rehearsing this, it's me, hi, I'm Dora, you introduce yourself. And then later they start thinking, yeah, maybe she can do it, like after a few times. But even just those small bits, I'm always like, if I was a guy, would they do the same? I think they wouldn't.
Isn't that interesting that in the United States, we still experience that? I mean, not to mention if you're from a third world country, of course, but you think that today in the 21st century, women would be viewed just as much. I talk to people in the healthcare industry, and they'll tell me even female doctors experience similar stuff. Like people expect that, more males to be in position of power, like you're supposed to be working under some man. I know, but we're changing that. So, but regardless, you are moving forward. So let's talk about some of your amazing projects. There's one I even have a hard time calling the mother effing with a hat. Grudges. My name is Rachel. So did you direct all these projects? Synthesis?
Yeah.
You have quite a few up your sleeve. You directed all these projects yourself?
I directed all of them, like you can see on my resume under theater. And I did some extra stuff that's not there in Hungary, with dance shows, like these experimental dance things while being at college, which was really, in one case, we used all the dimensions of the play. So people were, moving everywhere. We were experimenting with body and body images and all those exciting things. But yeah, I did quite a few plays in New York in the last few years. And I toured with one in Hungary that we got from New York and took it back, had a nice little educational tour, which I think is important, taking plays to schools where kids wouldn't necessarily go to theaters. Mm-hmm. And also in different languages. That's such a great opportunity for people to just learn a language or see how it really, how it works with people from different cultures. So it's interesting, and having those Q&As, afterwards with students or with a specific community that's not so used to going to a theater. I think that's lovely. I really enjoy that.
That's amazing. Do you have a particular style, or you just do any work? Is there a message in the works, in the, the work that you do, the projects?
I think bit by bit, I'm realizing that I'm very drawn to social matters, raising questions about things that are important, relevant right now, but they are also social in regard. So some of the work that I've done, it's about people with different backgrounds, it's about diversity, or it's about people in war zones, poor people, or people who are in third world countries. So I think those things are very important to me. And the last play that I did last year, Grudges, that was about this family that clashes over political matters. So I think that's also important, talking about conflicts, or talking about how to embrace each other's opinions and really not get into the depth of, being in a huge conflict based on someone's, based on an idea.
Mhm. Yeah, so social and social, like social issues, social
Yeah,
justice issues, um,
yeah, I think so.
you're
I
drawn to
think
those. So what do you
that's
think about what's been going on now that you mention? What do you think about the situation right now in the United States with the diversity issues, the racial issues, the Black lives have had issues, the Asians have gone through their own issues. We know the Latinos have been going through issues forever. Well, how does that strike you compared to where you're from? How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I think there's a lot that's changing, which is good because we're talking about. Obviously, there's not enough change happening still, and I think big step is electing the right people and getting ourselves educated enough to know about everyone else, not only about our little world. So I think that's important. It's good to see the change. It's good to see a lot of conversation that's happening in theater, that's happening in film. Just seeing last year's movies, a bunch of them being made by women, being made by Asian women. That was great to see. But it's also, it's horrible seeing those conflicts still happening. It's still a relevant topic, and that's a problem. But also, I think, in Eastern Europe, unfortunately, um, hatred in general, I think that's been really, struck during the last few years, and just not really wanting to understand each other, not really paying attention to each other, not really trying to resolve those unresolved issues that we're talking about. Whenever it can be based on many things. It's not just, color, or it's not just your education. In Hungary, a lot of cases, educational background, being part of a group of minority. It's still, unfortunately, it's everywhere. That's what I'm seeing. It's everywhere. It's still, there's a lot to be changed and talked about.
That's interesting. Did you say hatred? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hatred because of, you know, political reasons that has been in the forefront of many different issues.
Correct, correct. So is it like lack of tolerance?
Lack of tolerance, hatred, misinformation that's being spread on purpose.
Wow.
It's a bit, it's a bit Orwellian in a way, that you're using terms like, in Eastern Europe, what really frustrates me is we're saying somebody is, for example, a migrant when somebody is a refugee. There's a big difference
Of
between
course, because
terms.
they have different needs.
And now by politicians, it's being sort of blended into the same term, and they're using it as a way of communicating their agenda, their policy, their hatred.
Right. Wow. Wow. Well, the new generation has to change those things.
I
So
agree.
let's get back to I'm really fascinated by you as a director and someone in New York doing what you love to do. What is your message to young immigrants who come to this country and have such dreams, don't know where to begin? Because look at you, you seem to be thriving, you're doing great.
Well, I think it starts by doing your things little by little. It starts by just having, a passion, sitting down every day, reading a play, looking for a job, talking to people, going out there, going to those networking events, or going to a film festival. Especially if you're in New York, there are so many free things that you can see even if you don't have a lot of money. Get into a film club, get into a great, like, into a book club, go take one course and meet people. And it's the great thing about New York is there are a lot of artistic people. You will meet those guys who inspire you and who you can work with on smaller projects. You have your iPhone, shoot something over the week. It's just testing out those skills and building little by little. And if you are prepared, then things gonna come your way. That's what I believe.
Great counsel right there. So what is Dora's definition of success? What is success to you? Because we come here looking for this amazing American dream.
Mm-hmm.
What is that to you? And are you living it?
Well, I don't even know what today's American dream is. I think it's an interesting term. I think to me, success is when you can do what you love to do, when you can work on things that inspire you. You meet people and work with people that have a contribution to your life, and you can contribute something to their lives. I love the process. I think the success is the process of making something together. It's not necessarily the result. Yeah. It's not necessarily an award or something or money. Mm-hmm. It's more about the process. To me, it's more about the people that get together and make. And to me, that's successful in that.
Yeah. I always talk about the journey.
The journey, the process. Yeah, that's what's important.
Absolutely. If you don't enjoy the journey, then you may not even ultimately find that destination you're seeking. You know what I mean? Like, what is the destination? Right?
And that's normally a moment. The destination is such a short period of time. If this long one isn't interesting, isn't exciting, isn't really making you grow, then point.
Well, you know what, you just said it, because if you've spent 10 years doing something, waiting for just that one little moment, so what happened to the entire time, the decade? Was it a waste? That is very interesting. Like that. Yeah.
And what happens after that moment passes?
Exactly. So then you go into what?
Into what? Oh God, this is over. Yeah. Well.
So what is next for Dora? By the way, Dora Endre, right?
Dora Endre, yeah. It's still weird. It's not really, it's Dora Endre, but everyone says Endre. I'm getting used to
it. Dora Endre, right?
Endre, yeah, Endre.
Let me get it right. Endre.
Endre, yeah, we have a rolling R.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a Spanish R.
It's close to the Spanish R, actually. Yeah.
Okay, Dora Endre. Love it. Beautiful name. What's next for Dora Endre? What's going on?
Well, next up is the play that I've already started working on. It's Lemons, 5 Lemons by Sam Steiner, who's a young British playwright. His work is really exciting, and this one is about communication, which I'm very drawn to. Actually working on a short that's also about communication. The short is more about digital communication and how we completely lose track of real social interaction. And that's a bit of an absurdist, weird short story in which some people get killed because they don't really pay attention to each other and don't communicate well. And the play is about this young couple who are going through a lot because of the government's new decision. The government bans the use of more than 140 words per day per person. So you have to limit your vocabulary. You have to think through what you want to talk about. If it's not kind, it's better not being said. And it's interesting. You have to find new ways of communicating with each other, music or humming or silence.
That is intriguing. That's intriguing. You talk about it's a young couple. I'm going to say this. Well, is it communicating even with each other? Because couples bicker, couples fight. How are they going to navigate that? Because women are said to be long-winded.
And it's a young couple, and there are many unresolved issues when this new law is being implemented. So it's interesting to see how they not communicate and then they can't communicate.
That's interesting. I'm curious to know, now that you talk about this young couple and communication, what's the dynamic in Hungary between men and women? Is it free? Are women I mean, we already talked about how people perceive women, but in the marriage setting, in the dynamic of a relationship, since you are doing this with this young couple, give me some insight.
Well, I think it's very similar to the US in many regards. When it comes to couples in Hungary, I think the dynamics are pretty similar. I think it's changing everywhere. What I can see, and it's just me and people around me, but women are really taking charge of a lot of things these days. When it comes to relationship, also in many cases, strong women leading the ship, which is interesting. But what I love is that it's obviously more and more equal everywhere, which is great. Yeah, so I think it's similar.
Are women under pressure, young women under pressure to have a partner in their lives? Like some other cultures where if you're a woman, you get to a certain age or a certain level of education, it begins to thin down your options
Hmm.
for finding
Yeah,
a partner.
true,
Do you have
true.
that?
I think we don't, in general, we don't really have a pressure like that. I think when we talk about the entertainment business, obviously we do,
Mhm.
especially actors or actresses, they do have that pressure. I think it's interesting. I think that's also changing just because of media and the representation that's changing. I love seeing, older beautiful models, for example, on the cover of different magazines, or I love seeing, great directors, great female directors who also might be older, but I love to see obviously very young ones as well getting the opportunity to do what they love to do. So anyways, I think it's just good that we are having, those voices out there. Yeah,
So
that
as a
answers your
director, do you think that you would make sure that your work kind of, okay, I think my question should be, as a director, do you feel pressure to have that representation, or are you worried about the market that you're catering to?
Well, I think having that representation is so important, and sometimes it's worrisome just not seeing enough women in the room. Um, but I think also ultimately, for me, what really was the icebreaker when it came to men producers or male, even sometimes male actors, is that they see after the first rehearsal, after the second rehearsal, after the first meeting, the second meeting, that you're prepared and you know what to do. And it's actually sometimes, sometimes, usually, we are more decisive, or women in the room really can be strong. And once they see it, things sort of open up. But we need we need the opportunity to actually show that.
Yeah. Well, the men better watch out because Dora Endre is coming. Yeah, that's true. If we want to change things, then we have to be the change. We have to be present. And having female directors, I'm sure, will open doors for other young women. And I'm really just happy to have this conversation with you because who knows, there's a young woman, young female, young girl sitting somewhere that can see you and know that she can do it as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited. So, how can our audience find your work, Dora, so that they can be inspired?
Well, the way they can get expired, I will have a bunch of things on my website very soon available. So for example, my website, my Instagram is also a good place. And we are going to record this play that I was talking about. So that's going to be available online as well. And first, obviously, via streaming and for some, for some money. But then it's going to be available. I think it's important that everything gets out there as soon as it's possible, then people can watch things. And I think there's just such a huge hunger for culture, especially right now after the last year, just getting some entertainment, getting some culture, that getting some stories, that it's good to add to that.
You are such a breath of fresh air. I love your energy, your passion. You just love what you're doing, smiling all the time. Please. I mean,
I will try keep on doing all of it.
that's
Even
wonderful.
if it hurts, I'm gonna
So,
smile.
well, that's the nature. That's number one. Follow your dreams, follow your passion is the key to be really being happy. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. You have to
Thank
come back.
you.
You
I
have
loved it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so everyone out there, be sure to check out Dora on what's your Instagram handle again?
Oh, Dora Endre, the same thing.
Oh, Dora Endre on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. On your website is doraendre.com, right?
.com. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Dora, and I'm looking forward to another conversation. There's so much that we could just keep talking.
Yeah.
See you next time. Thank you.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of our show. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I would love to hear what you think about our discussion. So please share your thoughts in our comment section or send me an email to publisher@immigrantmagazine.com. Now be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram @pamelaanchang and like us on Facebook, The Immigrant Magazine. See you next time on The Immigrant Magazine Weekly.